July 26th, 2024 was another magical day, and I'm so excited to share all the details with you guys. I'm gonna go over our entire day, our entire Frozen Embryo Transfer day, step by step, what happened first, second, third, fourth, and also at the end of the video, I'll compare the differences between our second transfer, which just happened, and the first one that happened 2 years ago. But overall was basically the same thing. I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude to be sharing this day with you guys again. And honestly, I can't believe it's already over. I can't believe now it was 3 weeks ago. Also, you guys know that this time around has been so much harder for me mentally and emotionally going through this frozen embryo transfer process versus the last one. It's just, I feel so much different this time versus last time. So I'm gonna get into that later on in the video as well. And then also stick around to the end of the video because I will be sharing if the transfer worked. I have been really open and honest with you guys on my Instagram story because I felt like I really couldn't hide anything very well this time. By the way, those of you who are brand new to my channel, welcome. I upload one video a month, normally at the end of every month. And typically it's the last Sunday of every month at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, all about fertility health, IVF informational videos. And I love just sharing healthy lifestyle tips and also my infertility journey. That has been quite a journey of over 10 years, and I just cannot believe I'm on my second frozen embryo transfer, and my first one was with Quinn. He is now almost 18 months, you guys. He's almost 18 months. I'm just like, what? I mean, the time is just going, and I never realized how fast time flies until I had a kid, and just watching him change before my very eyes every day. He's now walking, you guys. Hallelujah, he's now walking. We're still going to physical therapy every other week for his torticollis, his head tilt. He's finally walking, so we're celebrating that currently. All right, you guys, sit back, relax, get a cup of coffee, get a blanket, enjoy my little story time of what happened on July 26th. And I hope you enjoy, and I hope this video helps out those of you who are about to have an embryo transfer, specifically a frozen embryo transfer. Best wishes, my prayers go out to you. And okay, let's get started. All right, so starting off, our transfer was scheduled for 12:15 p.m. and I live in Tacoma, and I had to drive into Seattle for the transfer, which is about an hour drive. And they told me I had to be there half an hour beforehand, so by 11:45. I kind of had to time all this because of the whole like water intake thing. So they sent me specific instructions. This is what was different this time versus last time. Last time they told me that I just had to have a full bladder by the time it was scheduled for, but this time they told me that I had to have full bladder, but they gave me specific instructions on how much water to drink when, which they didn't tell me last time, which was not ideal for me because I drink a lot of water, as you guys know. And so their instructions to me was to pee, so go to the bathroom at a certain time by 10:30. Yeah, by 10:30 I had to go to the bathroom for the last time and then start drinking 24 ounces of water, and I had like 30 minutes to do that. So they said to be done drinking water by 11:15. So go to the bathroom by 10:30, and then I have about 30 to 45 minutes to drink 24 ounces of water, be done by 11:15. And for me, 24 ounces of water is not much. I mean, most people that's a lot, but so I'm drinking my water on the way to Seattle, and I finish in like 10 minutes. And I'm like, I don't feel like I have to go yet. Like, I don't know that this is enough. I mean, sure enough, by the time I got there at around 11:30, we got there early, I did not have a full bladder. So we check in early. We were there. I mean, I didn't have check in until 11:45. We were there beforehand. And I told the front desk lady, I was like, I don't think my bladder's full enough. And she's like, yeah, a lot of people say that because of their specific instructions. I think they want to make sure your bladder's full. And for most people, 24 ounces is a lot. For me, it's not. And I was like, yeah, I drink a lot of water. And she's like, some people do say that. And so luckily they had like a bunch of water on hand. I could just start drinking some more. So I drank like 3 or 4 glasses more of water while we waited for our transfer time. And by about 12, they escorted Josh and I into a room. So I think my fertility clinic has 2 or 3 rooms they use for transfers. And I was in a different room than I was last time. I was in the room next to the one that I was in last time. So we walked past the room I was in last time for Quinn's transfer. And it was so weird walking past past that room, so I was like, oh my gosh, this was 2 years ago exactly that I was here. I was just in the room next door to that one. And all it is a little room. It looks like a little exam room or like a little doctor's office room. It's not an OR. It's not extravagant at all by any means. It's a very small room. And what's cool about these rooms is the embryologist and where they keep the embryos is right next to those rooms. So there's a separate door inside of this room that connects to the embryologist and the embryos. And so that door opened when they were ready to get started, and in comes the embryologist. We met the embryologist and they went over like some of the details of the transfer, which Josh and I were already familiar with because this is not our first rodeo. But to back up, the nurse escorted Josh and I into this little exam room, and I undressed from the waist down. It was freezing, by the way, in this room, and they said, oh, they revamped their air conditioning. So like, sorry for this so cold, like we'll get you some warm blankets. And I was like, because I was shivering, and I was like, this is not ideal, because everything that I've read, like you want to be warm and like cozy and toasty before your transfer. You don't want to be freezing. That's not ideal, especially your feet. You want to keep your feet warm. And I was like, this is great. And by then I had a full bladder, so I was reassured with that. I undressed from the waist down, put this little paper blanket thing over me. There was an ultrasound machine ready to go right next to me, and the ultrasound tech was already in the room ready to do the ultrasound. So it's an ultrasound guided frozen embryo transfer. They want to make sure they place the embryo right in a specific spot in the uterus, and they know how to do that based on the ultrasound image. So I had an ultrasound tech. She put the probe to my lower abdomen as the doctor placed the embryo in my uterus. He was able to know where to place the embryo in the uterus based on the ultrasound imaging. But to back up, got cozy. They gave me some warm blankets, so I stopped shivering. Josh was sitting right next to me. Then in walks the doctor. He introduced himself. So I didn't have the same doctor this time as I had last time, which I was a little bit disappointed about. My first transfer, I got to have my actual fertility doctor do the transfer, but this time it was a different fertility doctor because she was not on call this day, which was fine. I just was looking forward to seeing my own fertility doctor that I've known for years now. But he was very nice, very gracious, very professional. And so I had to sign the transfer consent. And then that's when the embryologist opened that side door and walked in, introduced herself. And that's when they started to do a lot of checks on making sure that my armband is correct, that it matched with the embryo number. So my armband had my medical record number, also had to match with the embryo number. The embryo that they were going to transfer in me had a specific number that had to match with the embryologist paperwork, whatever paperwork she had to match. And so everything had to match. And so they were doing a bunch of triple checks to make sure that we had the right embryo, right patient, all these checks, which I was very reassured. They did that last time too. Oh yeah, and just to back up too, I forgot to tell you guys, when I first sat down and they gave me the warm blankets, they wanted to make sure I had a full bladder. So they did ultrasound my bladder to make sure it was full enough, and it was. Then after all of the triple checks, the ultrasound tech put the probe to my lower abdomen. There popped up my uterus on the screen ahead of me. So then after the doctor got his bearings on, the shape of my uterus and sort of examine that for a minute, then they were able to pop up the embryo on the screen. So they were able to show the microscopic embryo on the screen, which is, I don't know how they did that, but they were able to film the embryologist literally sucking up the embryo into this little pipette. I don't really know what to call it, but I guess this little catheter. And then the embryologist physically walked the catheter to the doctor, handed it to him, and then the doctor inserted the catheter into my uterus and placed the catheter in a very specific spot in the uterus where I could see, and I could see all this happening on the screen ahead of me, and then let the embryo go somehow. I don't know how he does that, but let the embryo go in a specific spot in my uterus and pulled the catheter out and handed the catheter back to the embryologist because she had to make sure that the embryo was not there anymore. Because the embryo is microscopic, they have to make sure it's gone because they can't see it with a naked eye. So she takes the catheter back to her microscope and she makes sure that the embryo is not there anymore. So I got to see all of that happening. So all of these things that happen, all these events that happen with the transfer, exactly the same as the first transfer with Quinn. So after the embryologist confirmed that the embryo was gone, then it was over. And the doctor removed his instruments, and yeah, ultrasound tech was like, okay, do you have any questions? And the nurse was like, do you have any questions? Like, everything looks good. And that was done. It literally took 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I mean, even shorter, I think, than the first transfer, because they probably had to explain more to me the first time, because this time I was like, I already know, like, okay, I don't have any questions. And yeah, and then they said, congratulations, hope for the best, and they all left. What was funny is, I don't know if the embryologist says this to everybody, but so my embryo was a day 6 hatching blastocyst, and the grade was BC. So Quinn's was a day 5 hatching blastocyst, BB. So ideally, they want to transfer day 5 hatching blastocyst. Day 6s are a little bit less likely to stick, and by a little bit less, it's like very minor apparently. I'm just going off of what my fertility doctor told me, but day 6s are a little bit less likely to stick than day 5s. Day 5s are ideal, and this embryo also was a lower quality than Quinn was, so his grade was a BB, this one is a BC. The C, of course, is lower. She was telling me this is kind of like splitting hairs. You know, these embryos that you have, I have another embryo that's still frozen, same grade as this one that we transferred, very similar to what Quinn was, but it is a day 6 hatching blastocyst, BC. And so, of course, already hatching, but what the embryologist told me is, she said, oh, this is a very happy embryo. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I'm like, I'll take it. It's like, oh, this is a very happy embryo. And so I kind of left the exam room thinking those words, oh, this is a happy embryo. I'm just gonna pray and hope, and that's all I can do. That was it. I had acupuncture right after, just like last time. And at my fertility clinic in Seattle, the acupuncture room is right underneath where you get your transfer done. So it's very convenient. And my acupuncturist was already ready for me. And she's the same acupuncturist that I've used for years before I even started IVF. She's now at Seattle at my fertility clinic. And that's why I can't use her anymore here, because she's so far away now that I can't drive an hour and a half to Seattle every time I want to do acupuncture. Plus she only does acupuncture now for transfers, and she's very, very busy. So I did acupuncture with her. So good seeing her again. I hadn't seen her in probably a year and a half. And I was able just to lay there for an hour with the needles, just like last time, and sort of process what just happened. I remember with Quinn though, with the first one, I remember not feeling much until the very end of the acupuncture session. I felt a little twinge in my uterus area, and it was just enough to where I was like, whoa, what was that? And then I was like, I'm not sure what that was. And it was so quick, it lasted a split second. I was hoping for that this time as I'm laying there, and I didn't feel anything. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. Yeah, that went fine. And then Josh and I went to lunch after, and then we came home. What was cool this time, of course, I have Quinn. This time around's been a little bit more chaotic because I have a toddler, but my in-laws were here all summer with us, and they were able to watch him for us while I did the transfer. And so I didn't have to worry about him. I didn't have to worry about anything with Quinn. I could just focus on the transfer and having Josh with me, and it was good quality time, me and Josh. And we just don't have that time together very much now that we have a toddler. We don't have family nearby. So my in-laws live in California, and they came up for the summer to spend time with us. So that worked out beautifully, and came home and just relaxed the rest of the day. I didn't do anything, and then I really didn't do much physically the next couple of days. So I really wanted to make sure that that embryo had like the best chance to stick and embed and grow. This transfer on the 26th was a Friday, so I had all weekend just to rest and not do much. I have a toddler. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. I have to chase him around and entertain him and go to the park now. But I had my in-laws help, which was really nice, but there isn't any like downtime until he naps. And so that's sort of, you know, what I've been dealing with. He's a busy boy. So even though this transfer was pretty much exactly the same process as the first transfer we had a couple years ago, I felt so different. And I know it's because I'm already a mom, and it didn't hit me as hard the first time when they transferred Quinn's embryo in me. I was like, all right, cool, it's an embryo, like we'll see if it sticks. Like I really wanted kids, but you know, I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go for it and we'll just see what happens. But you guys, this time around, I cried through the whole transfer. I'm gonna like tear up now. It was so emotional. Like I saw the embryo on the screen and I lost it. I was like, oh my gosh, like that could be like our next kid. Like I think it's because with Quinn, right? Like I watched his embryo turn into a baby, you know, inside me. And I carried him and then gave birth to him and then watched him grow and develop. It's like, until you become a mom and experience your first child, like it doesn't really hit you like the same way. My desire to have another one is so much more this time than it was with Quinn. And I think it's because I'm already a mom and I've been through it, and I want another baby so badly, so badly. I would love to give Quinn a sibling. I don't know, just seeing the embryo on the screen just like hit me just just a whole nother way than when I saw Quinn's embryo. And also like it just took so much more effort for me to get here. I'm still like, I feel like I'm still kind of recovering from Quinn's labor and delivery and birth and postpartum. To me, this seems like really fast to do this again, but at the same time, I just turned 38. I don't have a lot of time, and we do have another frozen embryo. So if I did want to do it again, like I want to give myself a little bit of a cushion, but I think overall, I just physically, mentally, emotionally, I'm still sort of in postpartum. And so I think that has something to do with it as well. Oh, you guys, I was so overwhelmed with thankfulness, gratitude, excitement, happiness. I can't believe that we got here, because it just took so much more effort to get here this time versus last time, just emotionally, mentally. You guys know that I'm in somatic therapy. I am really working hard on myself, recovering from the traumatic labor and delivery with Quinn, and then, you know, IVF and my recent past with COVID and being an ICU nurse and all the stuff that really caught up to me the past few months. And it was very emotional, but like in a good way, but also trying to like, okay, Brittany, let's just try to keep it level-headed. Okay, let's stay down to earth. Like, if it doesn't work, it's gonna be okay. We have another one. And just sort of like talking to myself a lot through this one. Emotionally and mentally very different this time. Physically, also different. So the next day I was already feeling nauseated, and I was like, wait, is this from the hormones I'm taking? Because you guys know I'm on those progesterone oil shots, and I'm on estrogen pills, and I'm on progesterone vaginally. I'm on a ton of stuff. And then that same week, right after the transfer, Quinn got the flu, the stomach bug. And so I was like, I'm not sure if this is what that is, but I was just feeling really off already. And I was like, there's no way. It's the day after the transfer. But as each day went on, I felt like little pangs of like queasiness, and then a little bit slight cramping here and there, but I don't know if that was in my head, like, because I'm hyper focused on my symptoms. Try not to think about it, although Quinn is a very nice distraction because I can't think about much when I'm taking care of him. As you guys know, with Quinn, I felt literally nothing, just that little twinge, that pang, little cramp that I felt during acupuncture right after the transfer. Other than that, I felt no symptoms with Quinn, to the point where I had convinced myself the transfer didn't work. This time, I have been feeling some symptoms, but not sure if it's in my head because they're very subtle. So that's kind of the differences this time versus last time. To give you guys a little juicy piece of information, I have been pretty open on sharing these details on my Instagram story. I have not actually like announced anything officially. I am not even near to the point of doing that, but I have been giving you guys little pieces of information about my HCG levels, because I feel like I can't hide much from you guys. Last time I was very secretive, and it was really hard to keep that big secret because I just share so much, and I want to keep it somewhat real for you guys. And I feel like I chose to share my journey, and so I kind of feel like I owe you guys some information. I know that I am at liberty to do what feels best for myself, but I also do want to respect the fact that I'm sharing, and I don't want to leave you guys completely in the dark. I also need the support. And you guys on Instagram have been amazing. Your love and support and your positivity towards me, and the comments and the DMs, and oh my gosh, you guys have been so wonderful, because it truly has gotten me through the last few weeks. The last few weeks since the transfer have been a huge roller coaster. So I'm gonna do a whole separate video on my HCG levels and why I think they were so touch and go and slow to rise. But for now, I will leave you guys with this piece of information that my HCG levels have finally risen nicely, and I have my 8-week ultrasound August 28th. I'm not gonna say anything more. I did want to give you guys here on YouTube that piece of information that my followers on Instagram know from my story. I have not publicly announced anything. I'm not talking about it at all on my story. I'm not further elaborating on this. I'm so early. I'm probably only maybe 6 weeks. They told me next week I'm like 7 to 8 weeks, and I don't know any details. Once I get my ultrasound on August 28th, then they'll tell me my due date, how far along I am exactly, and just pray that the ultrasound looks healthy, everything looks healthy. At this point, I'm only going off symptoms. I'm still a little bit nauseated. I feel very tired. I'm very exhausted. So I do have some pregnancy symptoms, but it's so early. And as you guys know, anything can still happen at this point. And so just keep me in your thoughts and prayers, especially as August 28th comes rolling around. And I promise I will be sharing so much more in the future when I get into the second trimester. Hopefully that happens and everything looks healthy. But at this point, I did want to just leave you guys with that little piece of information celebration. Anyways, all went well. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And I hope that those of you looking at your frozen embryo transfer coming soon, I hope that it's a success. I pray that your little embryo has lots and lots of sticky energy and all the baby dust to you. Those of you, I know there's a few of you who are looking at your second frozen embryo transfer just like me. I pray that you have the energy and the mental capacity to do it again. I know if I can do it, you can do it. But I think once you do it once, when you do it again, I think it does take much more energy to do it again because you already have a little one. And I mean, and that's if the first one or your previous one is a success. Going through multiple transfers that have failed, I am so sorry. My heart goes out to you guys because this one was so touch and go. I got a little taste of what it feels like to have one fail, and I can't even imagine. I'm here for you guys. Thank you again for all the love, support, all the kind messages. Leave a comment down below, whatever you want. Also, what I should do for the next video. The next video will be September already. I might switch gears entirely and do like a grocery haul or something. Remember I used to do those all the time. I miss doing that. Or maybe even a vlog. Wow, I haven't done a vlog in like over a year. In the meantime, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it because it does really help support my channel. I will see you in the next one, and always remember to be kind to yourself.